Austin, and my story matters. 4 years ago, I was going through a personal issue in my life, and I didn't quite know how to tell my wife, who is my best friend, and I was kind of afraid that she was going to not take it so well. So I have a tendency to self-destruct, and I've always had a tendency to self-destruct, so I figured if I did something to damage the relationship, it wouldn't be so hard on me for her to not take my news very well. So I cheated on my wife. We hadn't even been married a year. We had been together for 5 years, but we hadn't even been married a year yet. But it was the biggest mistake I probably ever have made in my life. I've made a few, because in my mind, there was no being forgiven for that. There was no way to make up for what I had done. It's not something that just goes away. So I had to work really, I felt like I had to work really hard for my wife to forgive me. So I think part of why she forgave me after my infidelity was that she saw more in me than I saw in myself. I'm self-destructive. Things get good and I want to find a way to destruct myself just because it's easier to do it myself than have, my wife walk away or lose a good job. It's simple things. I've done it my whole life. And so part of, I think, why she forgave me was that she saw in me something that I didn't see in me. That I'm worth it, that I was worth fighting for and fixing the relationship. God's grace has played a role in healing myself, my wife, our family. Every time I come down the stairs in the morning and my wife is there, my son is there, I am starting to see what she saw. It's taken a long time. I think it's taken me growing up a little bit more than I initially had. But that's also kind of how God's grace works, is God sees the potential we have and sees how good we can be. And even though we do dumb stuff, we make mistakes, His grace is always there to show us that we can be better than what we were. God's grace shows up in everything I do. I'm not as angry as I used to be. I'm not as sad as I used to be. And my wife isn't as angry as she used to be. It's really important for people to understand that God's grace doesn't have stipulations. He knows that we can be better than we are, even in our darkest moments or our dumbest moments. He sees what we don't. That makes me never want to make that mistake again, but it also makes me want to be the husband and the father and the guy that my wife saw in me. Without my wife's forgiveness and without God's forgiveness and without my wife's grace, without God's grace, I would not be who I am now. I would not be who I'm going to be, because I'm always getting better. Every day I'm doing better and I'm getting better and I'm being a better version of me. My name is Austin and this is my story.